Alright, we got a new chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. This is 230. We're starting with a nice straightforward explanation of Twice's quirk double. You can turn one thing into two, only duplicate two different things at once. The doubles will always be more fragile than the original one. Right. We kind of saw this before when he was talking about when he was making wave after wave of clone of himself. That the new clones were much more fragile, and all it took was a broken bone to make them totally disintegrate. Here we have his trademark double speak, trying to explain to Shigaraki that he can and cannot duplicate these bullets. Kirk requires data and an image in my head. There's no data, and the image just doesn't come to me. I want to mass produce the Yakuza bullets, but I can't. Interesting. So it's only like things that he knows well that he's able to duplicate. Like he has to have a clear image of in his head of what needs to be reproduced in order to continue forward, I guess. Especially since I want to repay you guys for accepting me with open arms. I always had that on my mind this whole time. So I guess this was how he was sort of pitched by the broker guy to Shigaraki as being a valuable member of the League of Villains. And it makes sense that this would kind of come in through his influence, that like, hey, I'm providing you all this technology, and this guy will make you just basically mass produce it. Like, you don't even need to worry about future contracts with me. You don't even worry about scarcity or anything like that. He just makes more. And then he's like, oh, shoot, I can't make more. Which makes sense. Like, these are probably pretty tricky technologically. So, this has been a source of great shame and guilt for him, it seems. Something that's keeping him on edge this entire time. A crazy spread. All of the Twices, infinite doubles, a gigantic mass of them, looking like the Mirror Battlesphere, or that Castlevania villain, Legion, I think. Gotta help Mr. Skeptic, but he says don't kill the doubler. So these are some more of the mobilized townfolk. You can see, again, all of them trained up in their quirks. I'm really interested in this like shield girl that ran up here. And also this guy who seems like he's on fire, but it could just be some sort of like plasma type imagery. It doesn't have quite the style of fire normally in this series. But look at all of these Twices. The Sad Man's Parade. Dang, I like that like more are even being formed. You can see in various stages the process of formation. Like I really like this one here where a head is just being spewed out of another one's back. Its body kind of like forming in flight. And here on the left side too, a similar one a little further along. This is such a cool panel. Oh my gosh. And like every single one of them has like a slightly different kind of expression and personality. There's like a few peeking out behind the wall here. There's one guy just standing like really heroically kind of in the top left, down in the middle a little bit. Oh yeah, they don't know what to do with themselves. It's just all cylinders firing at max. All emotions simultaneously present. So they start firing into wave after wave, and of course these being clones of clones of clones are extremely fragile. Going down after only one bullet. Well, I mean, I guess most people do, but you know, most people don't liquefy after getting hit by one bullet. But they can't do anything. There's just too many. Around the ones that are disintegrating, other ones just take their place just as quickly. Also, they're up against two people that have some like handgun technology. This one guy is shooting bullets out of all of his knuckles, and the other guy is making some sort of like shotgun style blam blam blam. It's kind of interesting. Maybe they teamed up together because they have similar quirks and they've been training together in accuracy and stability and getting the firing rate up. I don't know. But oh my gosh, this is a lot of Twices. This is kind of cool because like it would be enough of a power if you could just clone yourself like a couple times, you know? If you get up to like 5, you're a 5-man fighting force in one. Like, oh, that's pretty good. Or to do like a Naruto thing and have like, you know, 30 or something. It seems like a crazy amount. You've increased your force by 30 times over. But this is like saturating this entire city block. Like it's on the order of thousands of people now, I think. And It's like a different style of attack now. It's not just that his force has been multiplied by these thousands of people. Just the thousands of people simultaneously flooding the streets and overrunning everyone is an attack unto itself. Overcame a psychological barrier. A swing and a miss, Mr. Skeptic. How rare for one of your schemes to fail. If I ever fail, the answer is no. Not once, never in my life. Amend that statement, please, because this isn't failure, just moving on to the next phase. So is he heading down to the battle itself? It sure seems that way. He's stepping into the elevator. I thought this guy would be entirely a proxy fighter, you know, using his laptop to control people. But now, in what seems to be an extremely unwise move, he's decided to fight 1-on-1,000 with Twice, the guy that hates him more than anything for putting him through the whole toga torture thing. Man's one hell of a shrink. It serves you right. With shackles gone, there's no holding Twice back. If nothing else, you've lost your numbers advantage. Quality over quantity, then. Now we cut back to the Dabby Iceman battle. Dabby in a pretty cool looking pose, but he looks a little on edge. Maybe it's not going as smoothly as he is expected. Mine's bigger and you're outmatched elementally. Precious Ice is practically on con. And then we still see Compress. We haven't really focused on him or Spinner very much. Spinner I actually forgot was here for a bit, but I'm pretty sure he's somewhere lurking around the city. Why should I help? It just has them, yeah. The cavalry has arrived. Reinforcements are here. The Twices are here to save the day. I'm still making more doubles. I'm still making more doubles. What a racket! Yeah, he's had enough. As soon as Compressed saw this, he's like, of all the things that could turn the tide of this battle, why is it the one that's just going to be a huge annoyance going forward? That doesn't clarify things, that this feels like a heroic origin story. But you're still a villain. See, that's what I've been saying. This is like a big inverted arc. And similarly, when I was talking before about how, you know, normally it's like, oh, I can make like 3 clones. I can make 30 clones. Not I can make 3,000 clones. That too has this kind of like grotesqueness that all of these arcs seem to be sharing, you know? Where, yeah, it's cool that he like overcame some trauma around, you know, am I the real one? What will happen if I make clones again? But the result is just this like pretty horrific scene. Like look at these mild-mannered townsfolk. Well, of course they're all militant and stuff, but they weren't ready for this. You know, they were being told that they were going to have to fight some villains, and they're probably all about it. And instead, they get to watch thousands and thousands of one man screaming a wide variety of things, sometimes at himself, and just flooding over them. Well said, me. So few of you, Sue, even more precious. Yeah, I mean, in comparison. Why don't I double Dabby? Oh. Okay. So this seems on paper like a pretty strong idea. Try setting against people who will clash against Strategy to match you when he arrives. Ah, they still want to hold back. But ask me where she's at and get her. So it's kind of weird. Like, in some sense, they're sort of hive-minded because it's the same person. And although his personality has many, you know, quirks, I guess is the word, some idiosyncrasies, some hypocrisies, some splits, he's still singularly motivated in some regards. Like, there's still core fundamentals of his personality that apply to all of them. So in that sense, they, like, work in tandem. But in another very annoying sense, they still have to like ask each other questions. They still have to like propagate information through themselves by just conversation, which I'm sure is difficult. Like, it's actually kind of funny. Again, it's like a very kind of grotesque take on the archetypical like making clones power. But I'm also very curious about this idea of like doubling Dabi, of doubling their other fighters, you know? Um, because each one of them, even though it was like the restriction is that you can only double 2 things at a time, each one of them can use their second double slot to double Dabi as well. So they can have as many Dabis as they have twices, which of course is an unlimited number, because each twice can also just clone themselves. It's like it feels like a magic combo, you know? Like it feels like a Magic the Gathering combo that it just, there's plus resources, like it can just go on and on like this. So yeah, with 20,000 Dabbies, it certainly feels unstoppable. So now we're starting to get more into the moral questions. Is Dabby okay with this? I kind of feel like he isn't, based on his face there. And Compress certainly seems worried about this situation too. He's like, hey, you know what? Let's just put a pause on that. We don't want to win too quickly. Okay. So a lot going on this page. We're getting back to this original plan of all of this fight for the League of Villains not being really something that they wanted to win, but something that they wanted to lure Gigantomachia into so that they could have more help in taking down that absurdly strong Beast Man. So, is that going to still play out? I feel like the fact that they're bringing it up again means that this will become like a plot significant thing. And yet that feels so kind of anticlimactic given how invested we are in this fight between the League of Villains and the Liberation Army. But it's like, I think this will still okay. Shots of ice, it looks like. Manufacture ice. Something's fishy here. Manipulate ice. Okay. So gigantic ice barrage takes out tons and tons of doubles. Not that there's not tons and tons more left. Dabby figures something out. The source of all this ice. It includes controlling the ice's temperature. Shooting some ice into the water supply and cooling things down, I extend my power to that water as well. Whoa! Why not leave with that? So obnoxious. Dabby seems like he's almost like meta criticizing the way that shonen fights always progress. You can't use all your cool attacks at once. You have to like build up to them. So he's like, why? Why didn't you just blast me with all of the water in the sewers immediately? Like, I could have been super dead already. Or not the sewers, the water supply, but whatever. In the future the Liberation Army foresees one's rank in society will be directly tied to the strength of one's meta ability. Elevating one's ability will be the only way to really live. Beyond that sheer strength, life has no value. Alright, this guy's pretty cool. At first I was like, Iceman, and he's gonna fight Fireman, okay. But kind of like his arrogance and the way that he's this sort of like model citizen of the new Meta Liberation Army, that he's not part of the political side of it, he's not part of like the scheming, you know, he's just big strong Iceman, and he's like, it's my time. I'm so good at ice. Don't you see that like I'm gonna be a god now? It's kind of interesting. Beyond that sheer strength, life has no value. Sounds miserable. I'm gonna need you to die. The one who will die is you, Blue Flame. I can smell it from here. Your body is burning away. Yeah, see? So this is, of course, why Todoroki was invented. Why his father tried so many times, including perhaps Tabby, to create someone who had both the fire and ice power. Because you can't just spam fire. Your body burns up as well. Keen observation of the enemy's meta ability is fundamental, and your festering skin looks ready to slough right off. It's disgusting. Own flames eat away at you. Ooh. Compress, drowning in the soup of dissolving twice doubles, even when one is giving the thumbs up. It's quite disgusting and horrific. And yeah, those sort of mass attacks in a city where the whole thing is that the Meta Liberation Army had been working with the citizenry and saying, like, we're going to take you into the future, we're going to take you into our new age. And then being like, oh, and like hundreds of you are probably going to die at some point. That's, yeah. This is a mixed message, to be sure. Out of all of them, he poses the greatest threat by far. Oh, that's kind of cool. Like the way this enemy just kind of snuck up into it. That he appeared so generic at first, and then more and more you're just like, oh wait, no, this power is horrifying. Do you wish we could send Makia against him right now? Poor Dad. And then we cut back to the doctor. He's trying his darnest without any sleep. Alright. So, yes. This certainly will still be relevant. I'm not sure if it's just going to put kind of a pause on this Meta Liberation Army versus Villains fight. I don't know if it's gonna go as they intend, and Gigantomachia is going to just stomp over everybody, wear himself out, and then they're ready to attack him afresh. Lots of things could happen. Lots and lots of things could happen. I could also see Gigantomachia coming in to play that unfortunate role of just getting one-shotted, or if not one-shotted, then handily beaten by someone else in the Meta Liberation Army in order to set up an even more terrifying villain. Like, we haven't seen our Commander-in-Chief in action yet, and we've just set up kind of the true power of this Iceman. So maybe we need to start to fathom the layers above that. I don't know. It's a very interesting arc. I really like this idea that it's kind of a grotesque inversion of what we would normally see if this was a heroic arc of our heroes fighting villains in similar circumstances. You know, the individual fights, the leveling up, the digging into backstories in order to overcome trauma and increase one's power. These are all things that normally heroes do, that normally protagonists do. And when the villains do it, it's not quite the same. And I really like kind of those differences. Okay, so let's look forward to next week.